I'm Dr. Kathy Campbell, and we're going to talk about my least favorite topic, which is the topic of exercise. I frankly dislike the term exercise, and we're going to talk about why. Exercise is defined as the activity requiring physical effort carried out to sustain or improve health and fitness. Let me tell you, our ancestors never exercised. And what's very interesting is the people who live the longest around the world do not exercise. One of the common things is they do not exercise. The world's longest living people do not exercise. In the blue zones, the Butner team observed that the people who lived in these longevity environments were nudged into movement every 20 minutes. So movement is what has us be healthy, not necessarily exercise. I also don't like the term exercise because often in our society, you're good if you do it and you're bad if you don't. Movement is critical to health. Exercise, not so much. So let's talk about the different kinds of movement that I've identified that are critical for health. I call them 4 different types. The first one is tote and fetch, run from a lion, balance and stability, and hunt and gather. So let's talk about tote and fetch. This is basically resistance training, lifting heavy things. Our ancestors never had to worry about lifting weights because they were throwing carcasses over their shoulders. So resistance training increases your muscle strength by making your muscles work against weight or force. It increases the production of mitochondria, which are the factories that make energy, and then it increases energy production. It also, this resistant training stimulates the bone to build new bone. It increases our sense of well-being. It increases the circulation of oxygen, and it lowers blood sugar. Tote and fetch, lift heavy things, especially for women. In our society, once women stop lifting babies, they often stop lifting anything. So it is really important that we start lifting heavy things, and our own body weight definitely counts. Critical to aging well or to weight loss is to gain or preserve muscle. It is rarely worth losing weight at the expense of muscle. So let's talk a little bit about muscle mass in general. Muscle mass plays a huge role in our metabolic function and our energy production. Again, it is a large store of mitochondria for energy. It is actually where energy is produced in the muscle. It determines the metabolic rate. A metabolic rate is the amount of energy you expend, and it is critical for optimal health and aging. Sarcopenia is the term we use to define an age-related involuntary loss of skeletal muscle mass and strength. It is one of the most important causes of functional decline in loss of independence in older adults. There are 3 things that will have us end up in the nursing home. 1 is medication mismanagement, 1 is poor nutrition, but the last is lack of muscle, lack of the ability to get in and out of a chair due to lack of strength. So muscle is critical to longevity and critical to health. There's a term that is epidemic in our society, and it's called skinny fat. It is also termed sarcopenic obesity. That is the presence of low muscle mass and either low muscle strength or low physical performance accompanied by high fat mass. So we may be at a relatively normal weight, but that weight is made up of fat, not muscle. That's skinny fat. If you look at this picture, you get the picture of a leg muscle, a femur, of 2 distinct individuals. And this is termed disuse syndrome. So the top one is of the femur and the muscle of a 40-year-old triathlete. You can see in the quadricep, all that dark tissue is muscle. The lower one is a 74-year-old sedentary individual. Same size leg, but the leg is not made up of that dark muscle. It is made up of the white fat or adipose tissue. So this 74-year-old has not used their muscles, but I want to show you this next one. You've got the picture of the 40-year-old triathlete. You've got the picture of the 74-year-old that is sedentary, but right beneath that is the 74-year-old triathlete. his muscle is actually larger than the 40-year-old triathlete. The difference between those 74-year-olds is their use of their muscles and the building of that lean muscle mass. It is incredible, and we can have muscle at any age. The next type of movement is what I call run from the lion movement. This is high intensity interval, that short burst of physical training that consists of a short period of intense, very energetic exercise with short periods of rest in between. We know the high intensity interval training is incredibly effective at reaching some of our minimum needs for exercise and energy production. So don't think this has to be long and difficult to get value. The high intensity run from a lion is a very effective way to get good results. The next one is really critical: balance and stability. So balance is the ability to maintain the body's position over its base of support within stability limits, both statically and dynamically. That basically means you have balance. Balance is critical because we start losing some of our core balance, the connection of our brain to the muscles to the ground, in our 40s. So maintaining core strength and really working balance can keep us from a fall that could be detrimental or devastating later in life. Balance is important. And the last but not least, it's actually the most important, is what I call hunt and gather movement. Our ancestors spent hours hunting and gathering at a pretty brisk pace in order to survive. And what we're figuring out now, this long duration, low intensity type movement is critical for our body function. This study indicated that women who averaged approximately 4,400 steps a day had significantly lower mortality rates during the follow-up of 4.3 years, compared to the least active women who took approximately 2,700 steps. As more steps per day were accrued, the death rates progressively decreased before leveling off at approximately 7,500 steps. It doesn't have to be the 10,000 we've always talked about. Any kind of movement can make a difference, and moderate movement to the tune of about 4,400 steps a day showed great value. So low intensity, long duration is the key. This is also termed in different areas of fitness and health zone 2 training. And this is a 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. So you're exercising at the heart rate should feel light, and you should be able to go on for a long time at this intensity. This zone improves your general endurance, your body will get better at oxidizing and burning fat, and your muscular fitness will increase along with how many blood vessels you have or your capillary density. Zone 2 training is that long duration, low intensity that our bodies really need and that we should really focus on putting into our day. Humans were not meant to exercise. Exercise was created to compensate for the fact that humans no longer must use our bodies to live. I haven't had to go down to the river and wash my clothes in a long time, or throw that carcass over my shoulder to carry it for dinner. The key is, how in our modern world can we incorporate routine movement as just part of who we are and what we do? Imagine being 100 years old and getting off the ground from a seated position 50 times a day. Well, the elderly women in Okinawa never have issues with leg strength because their culture is always driving them to use their legs. So critical to living a long life is movement, and that we must move for a healthy life, and the more fun you have, the better. So go out and find some kind of movement that you love and enjoy a long and healthy life.